Warning. The content in this episode may be viewed as offensive to some. If you, or anyone you know, is offended by this episode, or the bulk of this podcast, we recommend going to your nearest religious institution, or windowless room, where the ills of the world can't harm your piteously fragile way of thinking. You have been warned. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another very special episode of I Am Heathen, and So Can You. I am your host, made from and hailing from parts unknown, keeper of the dark and preserver of the universe's unmentionables, Einar. Coming to you today with a very special, spooky season-themed episode. If you've known my voice long enough, and if you've come across my large, bulbous head on TikTok enough, you would know that every Halloween, I make the Voluspa spooky as fuck. And that just usually involved me sitting before a red light, using this long, slow, deliberate reading. And today is no different, except, very much like a fine wine, my ability to be scary will now be paired with creepy music. And today, we will be reading from one of my personal favorite stories in the Norse myths, the Norse creation myth itself, the Voluspa. And with that said, we're going to turn on some creepy music, and we're going to get this. Heed my words, all classes of men, you greater and lesser children of Heimdall. You summoned me, Odin, to tell what I recall of the oldest deeds of gods and men. I remember the giants, born so long ago in those ancient days. I remember 9 worlds, 9 giantesses, and the seed from which Yggdrasil sprang. It was at the very beginning. It was Ymir's time. There was no sand, no sea, no cooling waves, no earth, no sky, no grass, just Ginnungagap. But Odin and his brothers created the earth. It was they who made Midgard. The sun shone from the south on the stones of their hall, and the land turned green with plant life. The sun, companion of the moon, shone from the south as the heavenly horses pulled it from east to west. The sun did not know where it rested at evening. The stars did not yet know their place in the sky. The moon did not know what kind of power it had. Then all the gods went to their thrones, those holy, holy gods, and came to a decision. They named the night and the hours, the morning and the midday, the afternoon and the evening, so they could tell the time. The gods had their meeting with a goal, where they built temples and high shrines. They made workshops. They made treasures. They made tongs and other tools. They played in the grass. They had no lack of food. So 3 giantesses came. Fiendish giantesses from Jotunheim. Then all the gods went to their thrones, those holy, holy gods, and came to a decision. They would make the Lord of the Dwarves out of Ymir's blood and his rotting limb. They made Motsogmir. He was the lord of all the dwarves. And next, they made Durin. They made many man-like creatures, dwarves of the earth, and Durin named them Ni and Nivi, Northri and Studri, Austri and Vestri, Althiof, Dvalin, Ivor, Bombor, Nori, Hanar, Mjolthviknir, Raig and Gandalf, Vindalf and Thrain, Thet and Thorin, Thror, Zeke and Lit, Nar and Naira, Rein and Ili, Ili, Undin, Nali, Hepti, Vili, Hanar, Sviur, Frar, Hornbori, Fraig, Loni, Aurvang, Yari, and Oakenshield. Now the names of Dvalin's family. The dwarves descended from Lofar, as men tell. The ones who left their stone halls for a home in Yoripol. These were Draupnir and Dogthrasnir, Har and Haugspori, Levang, Gloi, Skirshir, Fir, Slafi, Ingvi, Oakenshield, Fjallar, Frosti, Frith, and Ginar. These names of the dwarves, the descendants of Lofar, will be famous as long as the world exists. Three gods, powerful and passionate, left Asgard for Midgard. They found Ask and Embla, weak, faithless in that land. They had no breath, no soul, no hair, no voice. They looked inhuman. Odin gave them breath. Hopnir gave them soul. Loth gave them hair and human faces. I know an ash tree named Yas, a high, speckled tree with white clay. Dewdrops fall from it upon the valley. It stands forever green above Ur's well. Three wise women lived there by that well, under that tree. Ur's is named one, another is Verdandi, a third is named Skuld. They carve men's fates. They determine destiny's laws. They choose the lifespan of every human child and how each life will end. I remember the first murder ever in the world when Gulveig was pierced by spears and burned in Odin's hall. They burned her 3 times. She was reborn 3 times, often killed, not a few times, and still she would live again. They named her Haid when she came into their home, a sorceress who foresaw good things. She knew magic. She knew witchcraft. She practiced witchcraft. She was the pride of an evil friend. Then all the gods went to their thrones those holy, holy gods, and came to a decision about whether they should endure Golvig's depredations or whether they should seek revenge. Oh, then let a spear fly and shot it into the fray. That was the first door ever in the wall, the outer wall of Asgard. Valnir, who won it, were trampled them. And all the gods went to their thrones, those holy, holy gods, and came to a decision. All the air would be poisoned with their deceit, or Odin's wife would have to be married to a giant. Thor alone was in the mood to fight. He does not take it lightly when he hears of such things. Broken promises, broken oaths, and vows, such false speech as even the gods have uttered. I know where Heimdall hid his ear under the heaven bright, holy branches of Yggdrasil. The river that feeds the bloody waterfall where Odin's eye high. Oh, have you learned enough yet? I sat alone when that ancient one came to me, Odin of the Aesir, and he looked into my eye. What do you seek from me, Odin? Why do you seek me, Odin? Odin, I know where you hid your eye, in the shining waters of the well of Mimir. But Mimir can drink every morning from those waters where your own eye drowns. Have you learned enough yet, All Father? Odin opened my eyes to rings and necklaces, and in exchange he got wisdom and prophecy. I saw more and more, looking out over all the world. I saw Valkyries come from far away, ready to ride to the homes of the gods. Skuld held a shield, and Skogul another. Gun, Hild, Gondul, and Geirskogul. Now the Valkyries are counted, ready to ride to Earth. I saw Balder, the bloodied victim, stunned, resigned to his fate. There, growing slender and fair, high above the plain, that tree, which seemed harmless, caused a terrible sorrow when Halv took a shot. Balder's brother was born soon thereafter. He was Odin's son. He took vengeance while he was still just 1 night old. He never washed his hands nor combed his hair when he put Balder's killer on the funeral pyre. Frigg wept in Fensalir, the woe of Valhalla. Have you learned enough yet, oh Father? I saw a prisoner lying in a certain the liar himself, none other than Loki. There, sits Sigyn, his wife, although she finds no grief in her husband. Right. Well, Father, a river from the east, full of daggers and swords, through valleys of poison. These things there, north of the dark valleys, a golden hall of the kin of Sindri, and another stands at Oakelmere, the beer hall of a giant named Brimir. I saw a hall that stood far from the sun on the beaches of corpses. The door face north. Drops of poison fall through the roof. Its walls are encircled by serpents. I saw oathbreakers wading in, those thick streams, and murderers who seduce others' lovers. There, Nishog sucks the corpses of the fallen and snaps them with its jaw. Have you learned enough yet, Father? In the east sat an aged giantess in ironwood, and there she raised Fenrir's brood. Among them is a certain one who bites the moon in a troll's shape. Dead men are filled with life. The home of the gods turns red with gore. The sun shines black through the summers. The weather is never cheerful. The giant herder by trade sits there on a burial mound, striking a heart. He is the fearful outbreak. Bright red rooster, named young, sings music bird. Near the Aesir sings the rooster named Golden Comb. He wakes the men who fight for Odin, Lord of Battle. But another sings below the earth, a red rooster in the falls. Thunder howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolves will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I seek deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok. Brothers will fight one another and kill one another. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a hard place to live in. It will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms, an age of wolves. Shields will be cloven before the world sinks into the sea. There will be no man left who is truly giant earthquake. And the gods' fate is kindled at the blast of Yalarhorn. Heimdall blows that horn hard, holds it high aloft as Odin speaks with Mimir's head. The old tree sighs when the giant shakes it. Yggdrasil still stands, but it trembles. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. Oh, Tristan, I see deep into the future. All the way to Ragnarok. Dark day. Thrym advances from the east with a shield before him, and the Midgard serpent is in a monstrous rage. The serpent beats the waves, and the eagle screams eagerly, splitting corpses with its pale beak. Naglfar, the giant's ship, is released. That ship sails from the east, bearing giants over the sea, and Loki is its captain. The giants are coming, together with Fenrir, and Loki too is with them on that voyage. What news of the gods? What news from the elves? All Jotunheim is roaring. The Aesir are in council, and the dwarves, creatures of the mountains, tremble by their doors of stone. Have you learned enough yet, All Father? Surt comes from the south with a bright light in his hand. Yes, the sun shines upon the sword in his grasp. The mountains collapse, the walls fall. Men walk the roads to hell as the skies divide above. Then the second star will flee, and Odin goes to fight Vigrid, and Frey goes to fight the giant Surt. Then Odin, Frig's husband, will fall to Fenrir. Then comes the great son of Odin, Vidar, to fight, to avenge his father on the wolf. He shoves his sword into the mouth of Fenrir all the way to the heart, and thus Odin is avenged. And Thor comes, Earth's son, Odin's son, to fight the serpent. The protector of Midgard will kill that serpent in his reign, but all humankind will die out in the world when Thor falls. Only 9 steps, struck down by the venom of the honorless serpent. The sun turns black. The earth sinks into the sea. Bright star fall out of the sky. Flames scorch the leaves of Yggdrasil. Great bonfire reaches to the heights. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolves will break its bonds and run. With no much wisdom, I see deep into the future. All the light dark day. I see the earth rise a second time from out of the sea. Green once more, waterfalls flow, and eagles fly overhead hunting for fish among the mountain peaks. The Aesir will meet on Idavol and regard the bones of the Midgard serpent, and there they recall the great events of Ragnarok and Odin's old wisdom. There they will find once more the wonderful golden game pieces of the grass, which they had once played with in the earliest days. Fields will bear harvest without labor. All sickness will disappear. Balder will come back. Odin Balder will live in Odin's hall, as well as other gods. Have you learned enough yet, All Father? Then Honir will speak forth his prophecies, and the 2 sons of Odin and the 2 brothers will inhabit the heaven. Have you learned enough yet, All Father? I see a hall standing there, more beautiful than sunlight, thatched with gold, at heaven bright inlay. There, bold men will dwell and enjoy cheer throughout their lives. Then the dark dragon will come flying down from the mountains. That glistening serpent Neathhog will bear corpses in his wings as he flies over that valley. Now I must retire. Very much like our technical difficulties from last week, I've learned a lesson. When things go tits up, ensure you have a fucking backup plan. And today, I have one. So, due to the incredibly non-linear storytelling ass nature of our lore on our path, the Voluspa is the second in the trilogy, so to speak. Now, mind you, I'm injecting some of my own gnosis into this when I say that, but if you read the story Baldersdraumer first, and then read the Voluspa, you'll realize that, at least in my own head anyway, Baldersdraumer is the prequel. The Voluspa is right there. And Baldersdraumer, for those of you not playing the home game, is translated to Baldur's Dreams. It tells of Odin riding to hell to resurrect a witch, to prophesize as to why Baldur is having nightmares. Questions are asked, and the witch tells Odin everything she knows, and at the end of it, she starts to get wise to who Odin really is. She says, "You are not corpse tamer like you say. You are Odin, the aged god." Odin as well gets wise to the identity of the witch and says, "You are no witch like you claim. You are the mother of three monsters, or in certain translations, the mother of abominations." And as Odin mounts his horse to ride away, the witch screams after him, "Run home now, Odin, and feel victorious. For you will return to me a second time when Ragnarok comes to an end for everything." Now, if you know your lore, this sounds like we're talking about Angerboda, Loki's side piece, if that is the best choice of words I'm going to use today. Loki has a wife, Sigyn, who Loki treats quite terribly. And this entire story chain essentially turned around and killed my original UPG that said it was Golveig who was responsible for everything. And honestly, if I were to keep this as my heathen headcanon, which I am, this sounds a hell of a lot more plausible because our stories are not told in a linear fashion. They're told very non-linearly, if that's even a fucking word. And it's good to know that certain pieces can be plugged in to become easier for us to understand and absorb. With that said, however, that's all the time we have for today. If you want to connect with us on a more personal level, you can find me on TikTok at Chef Blackthorn, on Instagram at Chef Blackthorn, or I am Heathen POD on the same two platforms. That's all the time we have for this week, everybody. Tune in every Thursday, releasing at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for more heathenry-related content. And as usual, if you have something to drink, raise it up. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the spirits, hail the ancestors, and most importantly, hail yourselves. This has been a Blackthorn production.